So I'm bringing in something that you probably never seen. Well, you've seen it before, but this is its first debut on this channel. This is my Toro 4216 or 1642. I don't remember what direction number, but it means it's got 16 horsepower engine with a 42-inch deck. And this is my main workhorse for right now. I mean, because the button is just not happening right now. But I've been having some issues with it. In the process of the issues, I put a new carburetor on this. I replaced the head gasket on this. I actually put a new, I'm calling it valve cover gasket, but I think it's called rocker arm cover gasket, is what the official term is. I replaced the magneto on here. And, you know, it's still running rough, and I've limited it down to one part, which I have right over here. Hold on, let me stretch a little. Okay. So, it's this thing right here. And what this is an oiler and governor. And the governor turned out to be, I think it's the governor that's the issue, because it keeps revving like, rrr, 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 rrr. And what I think it is one of these little metal pieces. As it spins, it's supposed to like help push out and pull in, and which engages the throttle. Everything on the engine pretty much works in a circle. I think it's missing one of these two little metal rings, so when it's like hitting a particular spot, it's kind of coming in and out, because it requires both of these. So because of gravity, so one of them's always holding it. If one of those is missing, it comes to a point, and I think that's what's causing the because it's coming in and throttling all the way down, and then throttling it back up right away before it could shut off. So, without ado, I got to take the cover, this plastic cover. I forgot what it's called. We'll just call it a plastic cover off. I'm going to just pull the magneto because it's connected to the hour meter, and the hour meter's wound with a wire. And it's just going to be easier to pull the magneto off and reset it than it will be to just, you know, take that wire off and try to put it back on. But I'm going to completely pull the magneto off. Checked on a few other things that I may have missed, like maybe I have to take the throttle linkage off. There's a bolt over there, but that's going to come off when I'm ready to get the engine off. And then from there, I got to go on the underside and take off the PTO and a couple of belts. The hydro belts, which have never been replaced on this mower since I've had it. I'll take a look at the belts, but I'm actually going to replace those probably one way or the other. Because I don't want those to break, because they're such a pain, and it's going to be pretty easy to, I got to take them off anyways to get the engine out. So it's going to be kind of easier just to take them off now and put on new ones than it will be later. But we got to then drain the oil. And then, which is kind of disheartening because I just drained the oil not too long ago because I just replaced the oil. So I'm going to end up putting all new oil in here. But we want everything to be as oil-free as possible when we take the engine apart, because ultimately I have to turn the entire engine upside down, take the crankcase off in order to get to that part. I don't know what else I'm going to have to take off. I'm hoping to get this all done in a weekend. It's definitely going to take more than one day, but it definitely has to be done by Wednesday because I need this mower to mow by then. So without further ado, I guess what you can do is listen to some head smacking, you know, honky tonk music. I'll probably be smacking my head in this project, but for completely different reasons than grooving to the music. So I guess without further ado, we'll get everything taken apart. One thing that I got is this plastic hose. I picked it up in the hardware store. They wanted an arm and a leg for this hose, new, designed for this specific purpose. So I just forgot what size hose to get to stick on this nozzle, and we'll go ahead and put on there and drain the oil. I just had to replace this nozzle, and I can tell you it was probably about 7 hours of use on the mower ago. I just changed the oil. So this is really disheartening, having to pull this oil out of here just after changing it and everything, and I got to put new oil again in, and then have to change my records, and you know, it's just anyhow. So without further ado, I guess I will just go ahead and make a new drain hose and get going. down from underneath. We got the PTO off. We got the belts off. I guess it just had to go up before it went down. One of the tools that I used, and I just started using this thing, and I used it to actually help diagnose this. When you get in those tight spaces, it's really hard to see. And this little camera has been wonderful. I've had it for a while, but I've never used it before. This is actually how I was able to set the linkage and try to figure out that it was actually the governor that was the issue. So all we have to do now is pull the bolts out and let her come up. I'm still not confident. So we're at the moment of truth right now. Did I get everything, or is something missing? I guess I'll find out, and if I did, I'll just yank it until it comes off, right? A lot of people think, oh, well, lawnmower engines are so simple that there's not, how can you miss something? Like, it's not like a car engine with all the vacuum hoses and everything. And that's true. There aren't as many of those things. A lot of it's mostly contained in the engine. But you can always forget something or miss something. So if I did, well, I'm just going to have to drop it back in and take it off and try again. But here comes the that moment of truth. There she is! Let's get a bucket or something to put it in. Yeah, I'll figure that out later. Get that out of your face. Don't look at that dirt. Ooh. So, looks like we didn't miss anything. It's the underside of this that needs to get pulled. So, flip it upside down. And yeah, this is real professional here. Very professional cinematography. I'm classically trained by myself. So yeah, we'll get all of this stuff kind of cleaned up. But ultimately, it's this pan right here that has to come off. Alright, so here is the inside of the crankcase. And this little mechanism here is the thing we got to replace. At least I think it's this. I mean, all this linkage looks good and normal. Now we just got to clean off the old gasket and put everything back together the way it came apart. Might have to find some torque values too. I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. Okay, so here we are, day 2. I spent my day running around from store to store trying to find the belts for the hydros because they're original to the mower pretty much, is from what I can gather, which was 2004. It's 2021. So they're pretty old. So after going through, finding out no one had it in stock, I ended up going to put in a request to the Amazon ferry. So we're not going to get this done this weekend like I'd hoped. At least that was target number 1. However, thanks to that speedy delivery, we should be able to hit it before Wednesday when I really need to have the mower done. So, because if I don't have them by Wednesday, I'm putting the old belts back on, and I'll mess with them later because I need to have the mower Wednesday. So, but there's still some work we can get done. I got the cover off. I got to clean up some gaskets. We got to do all kinds of fun, exciting stuff on the inside of the engine still. And then we'll get the cover on, get it cleaned up, get the gasket cleaned off of the other end of the gasket off the cover, and get that all sealed up, bolted on down, and hopefully we can get the engine put on, which I'm going to have to move the camera definitely for that because, well, I actually have the camera right now sitting on top of the mower right where the engine's supposed to go. But it makes a nice tripod. Who knew they could be multifunctional like that? So let's get going with day 2 of this governor project. So before we get kicked off and started, there's a couple things. Here's the part that I had to replace that just kind of sits in right here. It's supposed to connect to these gears. Now I touched it, I just screwed it up. I guess something holds that in place, probably something in the cover connects onto that. I want to make sure my timing marks are set. There's a hole here which labels a little dot here, and then there's a little dot on this other gear. You want to make sure those are lined up. That'll set the timing right. It's a single cylinder, so you don't have to worry about which stroke it's on because it's basically only one giant turn. And then there's this weight here, and that has to set, I believe, right in this groove here, the ballast weight on the cover, so you need to make sure that's prepared. Now I'm going to go ahead and take the cover. Now that all that's set up, we're going to get that gasket off. Short right here. We still have to get the bolts in to and torque them down to spec. kind of have to figure out what the spec is, and I kind of have to take care of some first aid. I had cut myself on the inside of the cover there. Apparently that metal's sharper than I thought it was. So yeah, be careful if you're going to do that, because those corners are sharp. But everything else should be pretty spot on. Yeah, we just gotta get those bolts on, and then this thing should be ready to get mounted after that. Okay, so we're back here. I got the torque specs. There were two different ones for two different bolts. So these bolts here have loose washers on them, which makes it 140 inch-pounds. If they had washers on the actual heads, they would be 200 inch-pounds, which is quite a bit of a difference between the two. We're going to go get these bolts hand tightened, and then we're going to crank them down with the torque wrench, which has already been set to specifications. You can see 140 inch-pounds. And we'll get this thing back connected. day 3 on this governor project. The governor's all in. It's running kind of. I think there's an issue with the governor springs. So what I'm going to do with those is I'm going to replace those. I'm not going to put that on camera. I just can't get the camera in the space that I need to do that. There's probably going to be a lot of cursing as well that goes on with that because it's a really tight space to work into. So we won't be doing any real governor work. This pretty much ends that segment of it. All we got to do is put those belts back on, and we will basically call that video done from there. The issue is I'm still going to be able to hit my goal, hopefully, of getting this thing ready before Wednesday. However, with these governor springs, they're not supposed to be in until Tuesday. So hopefully they can come in on Tuesday. I can get those springs on. Everything will be running hunky-dory. And I'll have the perfect mower. I hope. Welcome to next day 4 or 5. Well, we started it on Friday, and we worked on Saturday. Maybe it's only like day 3, because we didn't really do anything yesterday, which was Sunday. We're now on Monday, so day 3, day 4, depending how you want to look at it. Took a day to rest. Day 3, we have to get the belts came in today. I got the brand new drive belts for the hydros. We can get those on. We can get everything put back together so it'll move. However, with all the issues and contemplation, I thought a little bit more. And a little bit more than that. And I kept thinking. Thinking's a bad thing to do sometimes. So, what I was thinking was, there's a fuel issue is what it seems like. That's a lack of fuel. It didn't seem like the fuel shutoff that came on the mower worked. I added a second one. I tried it out today. It does work. However, it could be gummed up. It could be clogged somehow, as well as the hose. So I bought a new fuel hose. And I have on order that's supposed to come in tomorrow just under the wire, along with the springs. A new fuel shutoff valve, factory fuel shutoff valve. So I can take out the one that I added in and put a new hose in there. This should clear everything in the fuel system. This should knock out every excuse there is. I have to pull the gas tank out, get that lever out of there. And, you know, this came from Menards today. It even has a picture of a zero turn on it. That's how I know I got the right one. So we are, hopefully that will clear everything up. Between that and the springs, something's got to give. There's really not a lot left in that fuel system to be replacing at this point. And everything's either been inspected or replaced. So I'm at a loss at this point. That's the only thing is when I did drain the gas tank, the tank in the mower today. Took a flashlight, looked down there, and it looks like that there might be a little gunk on the valve that comes into the gas tank. So a new valve might just do it. That might be everything that's going on with it. Either after that, though, I mean, I have pretty much everything replaced except for the pistons and the valves and the valve springs, so, and the rockers and the block. So, I mean, it's pretty much almost a brand new mower. Engine, at least. But we're going to get the belts on right now. So I'm looking around here. I should probably clean up. Things are getting kind of messy, but I'll just wait until I'm done. Alright, the belt's on. All three belts are on. I did not buy a replacement for the deck belt. And the reason why is I do have another one. You know how I save all those belts? I do have one that's intact to put on it if this one does break. And I decided with everything I'm doing, I just didn't want the additional cost of another belt. That is going to have to get replaced. But after doing all of this work, about the only thing that's left for me to do this winter would be replace that belt, which is probably going to break before that happens. Get a seat cover for it and put on some new tires, which, I mean, this is my winter project right now. So I don't know what else to do. I'll look up how to get the gas tank out, see if it's something we're going to do tonight, or if it's something that we're going to wait for the little shut-off valve to come in tomorrow. I'm beginning to sweat, so... Whew. Well, maybe tomorrow, maybe it'll be a little bit later. Who knows, but I'm just going to go look and see how to get the gas tank out. So I can either get going with that right away tomorrow, or it'll happen tomorrow when I get the part. Okay, so I looked it up. It doesn't look like it should be too terribly difficult. So I'm going to give it a whirl tonight, and we'll see what happens. Hopefully it's not too terribly difficult. Okay, now that we got the fender all off, or the side panel, and I got this out of there. I guess it was stored outside at some point in time. Don't look like there's anything living in it. That's good. An old wasp nest. But we just got to pull these two bolts off, and I have the wrong size socket. This should be the correct size. Oh yeah, of course it's not. Seriously, do they use metric? Oh, that's loose. Pull those back. Wow. Pull those out. There's still some gas sloshing around there. So this is the... Get this shut off. So underneath, this is the one I added. This is the original. It goes to the mower. I bought a replacement for this. I'm going to pull that out and just replace this whole line. I don't know how good of a line. It doesn't look that great to begin with. We're going to pull this one out because we don't really need that anymore, especially now that we're putting in a new line. And we just got to leave a space for the fuel filter, and we'll be good to go. And we'll be able to start on this as soon as we get the part tomorrow. We're back here, another day. Amazon ferry came through. I have the garage door open. It's really hot out. I'm trying to get this done before dark. Usually I've been doing it after dark because, well, it's cooler and I can have the garage door closed. I got a neighbor with an inflatable in their yard that's, you can probably hear that buzzing in the background. You might get a little wind noise, I don't know. It's kind of outside. But we're back, and I already got the springs on for the governor. Like I said, I was going to do that without you. It's just you can't get a camera in there. It's a little easier with the fender off, but you still really can't get a camera in there. So we got the fuel tank. We're going to take this little rubber piece that came with the valve, shove that in there. Come on. There we go. Then we take our valve. Now this has a front and a back, so it's got to go like this. And that's got to go back like that. And that's actually the wrong side. It's actually got to go in like this. There we go, and that's popped in there. So that's a nice new shiny valve. Doesn't seem to want to turn. So when we get all done, said and done with this, we'll have a full new fuel system, new lines, with the exception of the gas tank, which I'm using the old gas tank, but I looked at it. It's nice and clean on the inside. So it's pretty much a brand new full fuel system, new lines, new valves, new carburetor. So hopefully that does everything that it needs to do. And then, yeah, then all we got to do is put everything back together. The gas tank back in, the lines back in. We have to cut for a fuel filter. What else? I'm going to have to reconnect the battery. I hate disconnecting the battery. I'm going to have to reset all the presets on my radio now on this thing. But I guess without further ado, let's get this back in and back together. time we hit the moment of truth. Well, we fixed the surge issue. It's still kind of coming up out of the carburetor. Hopefully, once we get the blower housing put back on and, you know, it has an air filter to pull from and get some resistance through that end, it'll stop doing that. The only thing I can think of is that muffler, and I don't want to replace it because it's really expensive. But, so that's where we're at. Although the really bad surging is gone for the most part, it still hits there at high idle. I have to get a better meter for the RPMs to really be able to adjust that carburetor, make sure I'm not overdoing it. I don't want to overdo it. So that wraps this up. I'm going to go ahead and put the blower housing on it and test it out, make sure it mows, and then fix the issue that I created earlier by not looking at what I was doing. Other than that, yeah, that's it. That's how you replace, I guess, a governor on the inside of a Toro lawnmower with a Briggs Stratton 16 horsepower engine. But yeah, we figured out the surge issue. We gotta look at the bright side of things, right?